Remnant from the Ashes is what happens when you try to make a good pitch for a game into a full 15-hour game. It's just so unpolished and full of frustrating enemies and bosses, the plot is just uninteresting. But let's start from the beginning. Right off the bat, you are thrown into the tutorial, which lasts like half a minute, and that's good. I like it when you actually learn the game while playing, without it explicitly telling you what to do. Unfortunately, those 30 seconds is all the complexity Remnant has to offer. It's literally walk around, shoot the enemies, preferably in the head, get better weapons, repeat the process. I shouldn't actually show these games, because they have some sort of inventory management and combo creation, but more on that later. So, you faint in the tutorial and you wake up in a bunker, where people have created a safe house free from the root, which is the main protagonist of the game. A kid tells you to go talk to Ford, who is the woman in charge. Well, great, but there are no quest markers, so you walk around aimlessly. While trying to find Ford, I accidentally bumped into another girl, who then told me something along the lines of, "Oh great, Ford sent you to help me, you came just in time," something like that, and we start shooting these walking trees. Like, what? We kill the trees, and I'm back to trying to find Ford. I think I went through the entire base before actually finding her. All the while, everybody in the base kept saying, "Oh, okay, so Ford sent you, that's great, you're gonna help me in something." Then when I finally found her, I think it skipped the whole explaining what is happening, and she just sent me on a mission immediately. So, as of right now, I am 15 minutes in, and have no idea what is happening. This is actually a common thing in Remnant. Wandering around, not knowing where you're supposed to be going. Get used to backtracking and going through dungeons just to discover that at the end it was actually totally optional and certainly not worth your time. Because it's gonna happen quite a lot. There is a location called the Labyrinth, which is the main plot point in the beginning of the game, and I was looking for this thing, right? I was in some sort of desert and I went into a huge pyramid. Inside there are these intertwined tunnels and holes, and I was like, wow, this really is a labyrinth. Pretty cool concept. Well, except it wasn't at all. It turns out I already went through the labyrinth, but I didn't notice, because it's not a labyrinth at all. It's just 4 gates next to each other. Bro, that's called an intersection. So let's talk about the plot. So there is this root, which is a kind of a plant, but also have hive mind that spreads through the walls, consuming them. It is a cool concept, although it was in pretty much every fantasy game ever. I mean, an evil force spreading through the land and you have to stop it, so like corruption maybe. But maybe I'm being too picky with this. It's just that the plot didn't really have anything interesting and I could predict what was gonna happen from start to finish. It was just a matter of time. There were some cool moments, but other than that, it was quite bland. The game also didn't manage to create any kind of relationship with any of the NPCs. This also felt like a pitch that didn't go as planned. Alright, so we're gonna have all these cool characters in the base, like this mechanic who is such a nice guy, and this girl Ace who is gonna be a really friendly as well, and this girl McCabe, but she's gonna be the cool emo chick, and she's gonna be great. Just let me work on their personalities a bit and add some more dialogue options. No, thanks Greg, that's fine, you're fired. What? Why? You didn't like it? No, we loved it, you're just fired. That's it, bye. Well, and here we are. All that McCabe does is say, "What now?" or "I don't have time for this," every time you upgrade your weapons. It's the same with all the characters, except for one which I liked, but I didn't wanna spoil it, so yeah. He appears for like 10 minutes though, so don't get your hopes up. Okay, so that was the plot, now let's talk gameplay. I do agree with the IGN review on this one, where they call the gameplay satisfying, because it really is. All the weapons have a sort of weight to them, especially the melee ones, although they don't really deal enough damage in my opinion, and some enemies and a lot of bosses are unhittable in melee range. Because of this, melee is not really viable, even if you have a full set of armor made for close combat. I started with melee but quickly changed to far range guns, and I stuck with that for the rest of the playthrough. Oh, but breaking stuff with melee is one of the 3 or 4 mechanics that actually are introduced in the tutorial, so I guess that will be important, right? There is literally one moment in the game where you have to use melee to break objects in order to progress. Let me repeat that. One location. There are a few technical problems as well, like objects appearing or disappearing. Some things are ominously floating around mid-air in places they shouldn't be, but nothing major except for one problem. The rolling and aiming down sights. Oh my god, I hate this. Okay, so like, imagine this. There are like 5 guys charging at you, right? You want to roll backwards, aim at them, and shoot. Well, too bad, because if you roll and press the right mouse button for aiming, followed by the left mouse button for fire, you're just gonna wave around your melee weapon in the air for no reason. Then get hit by the 5 guys attacking you and die. I have died so many times because of this, it became unbearable. Who thought that allowing your character to swing instead of shoot, even if the right mouse button is pressed, was a good idea? I love it even more when you have a pistol, which you have to shoot like 15 times to empty the clip. So you roll, press the right mouse button, and then click the left mouse button a couple of times, and the guy starts doing a melee combo while he's getting shot at and dies. These are not responsive controls. Especially when I have to have a pinpoint accuracy in a boss fight. It really doesn't feel good when you die for the 10th time to a one-hit boss attack, because your guy decided to swing his hammer in the air for fun. So let's take Dark Souls 3 for example, right? Now, this is considered a really difficult game, and it really is. I haven't finished it myself. I came close a couple of times, but I never really did it. And I think what really makes Dark Souls a good game is the responsiveness of the controls. It requires some getting used to, but the controls are really good when you, well, get used to them. And the character just reacts to your controls, you know, to your input. Now, this is not the case in Remnant. Also, the gameplay is shallow, like a puddle on the sidewalk that somebody pissed in. Man, people said that Diablo 3 had shallow gameplay. Bro, if Diablo 3 had shallow gameplay, then this is shallow squared. No, hold on, that doesn't work. Then this is like very shallow. In Diablo, you could at least play as 7 different classes, combine combos and stuff like that. In Remnant, you have guy with big hammer, who doesn't do anything. Guy with gun, who can heal a bit. And guy with gun, but bigger. You can add mods to weapons, but most of them suck and aren't worth your time. So there are around 10 weapons in the whole game, but half of them aren't viable, and around 5 sets of armor, which aren't that interesting. But they do change your playstyle, so I guess they're fine. It all looks like a demo for a full game. Like, if they released a version where you have to get the actual game in order to get all the other items, but you can theoretically finish it with only the starting items. They also tried to do a Monster Hunter move and make the bosses drop items from which you can later craft weapons, but they seem like they were assigned at random. Some of them fit the boss's theme, but some of them don't, and most of them aren't good enough to even bother crafting them. Like this shotgun, for example, right? Called Spore Bloom. You get it from one of the bosses at the end of the first area, so you are around 4 hours in at this point. Guess how much damage it does? 200. That's good compared to the starting shotgun, which deals 130, but this one has 1 bullet in the magazine, and the normal shotgun has 7. It takes so long to reload this piece of garbage, you will have already killed the guy with the normal shotgun 3 times over. You also have to upgrade it for it to be somewhat playable, because you already upgraded the rest of your equipment, so the normal shotgun probably does around 195 damage at this point in the game. I can go on, honestly. Last point of gameplay is bosses. They are pretty weird, man. Some are very easy, even though I think they were supposed to be difficult, and some are the other way around. I enjoyed the bosses at the start of the game, both because of their aesthetic and because they required some wit to try to figure out how to beat them, but at some point of the game the devs just decided, you know what, we can't be bothered creating interesting boss fights. From now on, just make every boss fight spawn 20 small enemies every half a minute. Which made me frustrated and want to speedrun them. You know that feeling when you have to get the groceries from your car to your house and you could take them in 2 or 3 turns, but you try to get them all at once and save time? And then halfway to the house the bugs start to fall apart. I just couldn't be bothered to fight them like I was supposed to. Killing all the annoying small guys before getting a few shots into the main guy and repeating the process. So I tried to dodge the small guys and focus only on the boss. And I had to repeat the fight like 15 times, yeah. Alright, so the plot is bad, the gameplay is bad, what else? Well, the graphics. The graphics are really well done. It's actually the best thing about this game. I especially love the first two worlds. They are just so atmospheric and really have a soul. The other two aren't so great, they get boring pretty fast, but they are all done with many details and you can feel that a lot of heart was poured into them. This was by far the best aspect of the game and I felt genuinely excited when going into a new world, not knowing what will come next. Most of the time disappointment came next, but the thrill was there. Okay, I think I said enough about this game already. It's time for the verdict. Drumroll please. 3 out of 10. Bad game. I finished the game in 13 hours solo on hard, but I also got stuck on a boss fight once and went to grind for item upgrades for like 2 hours, so you can probably finish it in like 10. But first, hear me out. Now, why would you play this game? Here's what you can play instead. You want a good shooter about killing demons? Doom. It's good as hell and doesn't stretch out for 5 hours of content into 13 hours. In Doom, you hop from one location to the other every hour, you don't even have enough time to inhale the horror atmosphere. In Remnant, you're gonna be so sick of the map, you're gonna puke. No interesting easter eggs or collectibles. You want a good Souls-like game? Cuphead. Even IGN had problems finishing this hardcore gaming experience. Now, you want a good grind simulator with good graphics? Boom, Destiny 2. Okay, so you want the best Souls game out there, with an interesting theme, including a grim atmosphere, enormous world, and an inspired plot, then just play goddamn Dark Souls 3, bro.